Yo, Crypto Nation and mining family, what's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? How are all you happy hashers doing out there today on that FA Friday? Yo, drop that FA in the Chizity chat, guys. And while you're doing that, definitely smash that Lizzy like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. And if you could, share me on your favorite social media. Get the word out there so more of all you awesome people can watch these videos. Yo. Yo, we got Techman in the house. We got Rude. What's up? We got Fudweiser. What's up? What's up? All you happy hashers out there. Hey, why don't you turn off? Oh, I hate when it does this. It won't turn off that. Okay, so I'm gonna have to. Sometimes it does this where my stream deck doesn't want to work 100% properly. Let me make sure now. Oh yeah, no, my stream deck is like borked for whatever reason. I'm gonna have to. Wonder if I can sit there and just restart that. Did start up a little goofy. No? Oh no. It might be OBS is having an issue. Oh well. Whatever. It don't want to work today. I'll give it a quick reboot here in a moment. I don't know why it's doing all that goofy stuff. I don't know. I did move around some wires for the back of my computer, so now it might be giving me a small communication problem once again. It does this every so often. I never understood why. I gotta figure out a combination of plugging stuff in and right ports, and then everything just works. But I got the majority of everything I want working. This is the first thing that since I've rearranged it one last time here, this is the first time this is having an issue. But I've had issues with OBS doing this before too, so it could be just OBS needs to be shut down and rebooted. So meantime, I'll just let it ride. So how are all of you awesome people on this Friday? Yo, of course, guys. We have our merge coming on up, so definitely be aware that the merge date is upon us. So like I said, I'm going to be like a broken record on this one at the beginning of every one of my streams. If you've just gotten a payout and it takes you 11 days or more to get a payout, cease and desist. Figure out what you're doing with your mining. Don't waste your time and your money on your electric bill if you're never going to see a payout. So best to sit there and figure out a plan of action. Always keep an eye on when your payout intervals are and how long it takes to each payout. I'm gonna have to pay attention to this. You know, in the last, I have to see where my last payout is to when we're really close to it and see. Do I have 3 days to get a payout from my last payout? I mean, if my payout comes in a day before the merge, my rigs are going on to something else. What that something else is, not sure. Me and Macau will have to kind of put our brains together and figure out what we're doing with the farm. What up, Flying Brian? Yo. He's like, got my IP right here, ready to pay out on demand. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Now, they are having issues, from what I understand. They've only got half the nodes updated after this last little test fork. It seemed like that worked out okay. But I've heard grumblings of little issues here and there. From what a few people on the dev team say, you know, once they go cross the line over in post merge, there's no going back if there is an issue. Of course, we all know how coding is. If there's a will, there is a way. That you can sit there and just kind of roll it back, give it a kickstart. We know how ETC started. So, ETC being the original chain, Ethereum has shown in the past that it can undo what it has already done. It might be a bit of work. I and maybe a few other people would say I call your bluff on this one. If it absolutely needed to happen, I'm sure it would. But as long as everything is on track, everything goes good, we are looking at 11 days and like 13 hours, guys. So we are coming close to that 10-day marker until everybody claims home mining is dead. It's like, no, it's just not going to be as lucrative of a business. And especially in a bear market. So some people might look at this as a negative. Myself, I look at this as a positive. This will give a redistribution of hash rate across other networks that are more deserving, in my opinion, because they are staying more true to a decentralized network, even though they are giving up decentralization in other areas. But at least proof of work is a little bit more pure and is more inclusive for anybody at home to be able to participate very easily. I don't look at your price to pay is how much money you can put into the market. It should be, hey, I've got hardware sitting here at the house. Can I participate? I have no money. And the answer should be yes. That's why I like the purest idea of proof of work. Like FAPOW can. So Tech Man going, hey everybody, yo, what up, Cisco? So I do, it's like I'm kind of interesting to see how everything goes with Ethereum post merge. It's like nothing's going to change for the user. You're still going to have the same amount of gas fees. It's just consensus. And and Bits Be Trippin' actually brought up a good point earlier today. It's like, so if there's regulations that come down and it's because of these mixing pools and stuff like that allows you to privatize your crypto very easily. If there's regulations that are needing to be done, a lot of these places like Amazon, AWS, Amazon Web Service, there's going to be two ways that they're going to go about doing this. Either they're going to sit there and they're going to play it to the tune that they're going to not allow anybody to have anything crypto related on there because they just don't want to take the risk, right? Or they're going to have to hire in a firm, or they're going to have to create a firm inside their own company. It'd be better if they did an outside firm for this, if they went down this route. Would be making sure that everything on Ethereum is 100% looked over and given the stroke of approval to be on Ethereum, especially if they dabble into the side of they become a money transmitter to what the United States standard is on what they call a money transmitter. That's gonna pull Amazon into this a little bit. So they're gonna I don't see this being workable long term. It depends on how U.S. regulations come down on all of this. There is going this direction that ETH is going gives a lot of attack vectors. So yeah, we'll see how this experiment works for them. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Macaulay's like, stay frosty. So that's kind of why I'm not in, I don't keep anything in Ethereum in any way, shape, or form right now. I look at that as an epic dumpster fire right now until somebody can prove post merge that it isn't. I'm still not. I probably still won't even mess with it because it's not proof of work, and I can't mine it. Yeah, I'm dumping that coin. So anyway, definitely pay attention to your payouts. I'll be a broken record on that one though. Here's a nice one. For the new Ryzen 7000 series, guys. EK has already got the AIO blocks for this, and they're also going to have the custom coolers. We'll have an EK backplate on this stuff if it's necessary. You don't always have to change out the backplate, but you might. So they're making sure that they got at least all the AIOs and the regular coolers. So this is nickel plated, or no, this is the gold plated nickel, which that's why it's got that nice little gold tint to it. So you can kind of theme that stuff out. So these are going to be all of their AIO solutions. I like the infinity ring on the pump side of this. I think that's kind of cool. The fans matching all that stuff. And then you go into the Quantum series, which this will be for your custom builders like myself, which will be really nice that they've already got everything out for it. So this will be their normal selection for their Velocity series. They're just adding the 7000 series to their Substack of available parts and kits to be able to go into. So we will have everything for the AM5 socket now in the Velocity series. So if anybody's wanting to update their motherboard and CPU combination, they now have all the stuff you need to support it. YOLO! And I think it all looks good. I love the Velocity. That's what I've got in my system right now is the Velocity. Mine's the black bordered out one for the Threadripper. Looks nice. I love being able to see the little micro bubbles going through the loop and everything. Love it. This is on the ROG Crosshair board here. So that's a nice board to have too. And then they've got their Magnitude series, which has got a little bit more of that industrialized look to it. Depends on your build. If you got a nice bold build on there, this is going to look very sharp. So there is that stuff. And then, of course, we have more ARC stuff coming out. Dun, dun, dun. So this is going to be their whole series of cards that they're going to be coming out with the Alchemist series. So we've seen the 380, which that one I have on my bench right here. The 380 and the 770 is been seen out in the wild. We know a few people who have them. But these are going to be the rest of your lineups on there. The 370 mobile, any of the M series are going to be your mobile variants. So a lot of the M series, I think, a lot of them are already out because they are in laptops already. So what we are waiting for on the desktop side is the 580, 750, in the 310, and then after that. You start going into commercial grade cards. So you'll have the Arc Pro A30M graphics, the Pro A40, A50, and then you got your Flex Series 170 and 140. So these ones we in the Pro Series and the Flex Series we probably wouldn't really see too much of that. But for at least the M series, we'll see those in a lot of the Intel style laptops. I think some of them have already been seen out in the wild with them, and they perform pretty decent in the laptop variations on them. We'll actually see today how this one that I have right here looks as for a desktop variation. Is the A770 about the equivalent of a 3070 Ti? It depends on what you're putting it up against. These are all the ARC series cards. They're going to be good 1080p cards, right? So anything that can play 1080p, that should be like an easy little softball hit, a home run. You know, at this point in the game, 1080p should be the basic standard of the equipment coming out. If it was 10 years ago, okay, I can see, 720p being more the standard, because, even monitors weren't all up to snuff for that stuff. I mean, you were talking about you weren't even talking about 1080p. You were talking about 1080, 1080i, 1080, some of the high end ones were 1080p. But that was not something that a lot of your consumers were able to get their hands on. So for ARC being a 1080, all of them being 1080p, now you're just kind of looking at its rendering distance draw. And I would think at 1080p, it should be able to do as good as everybody else. As soon as you go above 1080p, that's where you'll start seeing the flaws of it. So with the A770, I would expect that the A770 should be able to do 1440p as good as a 3070 or a 3070 Ti. Now 4K, no. Ray tracing, absolutely not. But 2K, sure. 4K, I think you'll start seeing some of the limitations. Like, it'll do it, but at what frame rate? Are you talking about 4K being 25 frames per second? And if you're playing a video game, if it's a turn-based video game, not so much of an issue, right? But if it is a online battle game, 25 frames per second is pretty damn miserable. If the 3070 is doing 4K with ray tracing on at 60 frames per second. And then it's also, you got the DLSS, the deep learning super sampling on there for NVIDIA that helps uplift everything too. So NVIDIA's got a few little refinements in its wheelhouse. But I think that for a 1080p card, this should be an easy one for the 770 to do. That would be me. I really don't think so. I think that's like a marketing ploy, Cisco. This is a 1080p card that competes more with a 1060, in my opinion. A 1060 Ti, maybe a 1070 if they're lucky, but definitely nothing in the 30 series in my opinion. It can't play the stuff. It can't play a lot of the games that even I play, without having some issues. Yeah. Oh, there's a squirrel in the yard, kitty. So I mean, I would be interested to see how they get the ray tracing going. But as far as from what I've played, as soon as you start leaning on this A380, it starts to have you see the performance degradation immediately. Overclocking is horrible. Overclocking this card is a horrible experience. There's really no way to undervolt it, really. There's so many limitations, so much performance that could be left on the table that I'm unaware of. Rude, bad kitty. So with, it's like I'd be interested to see what Intel's approach is on ray tracing. I mean, AMD can do ray tracing. I don't think that Intel, with their first swing in the park, is going to do better than AMD. That's my opinion. And you guys know that I'm not a huge AMD GPU fan. I love their CPUs. AMD CPUs are on fucking point, but their GPUs to me are lackluster. They're power efficient, yes. Performance lackluster, in my opinion. I wish they would give me a performance-based card, more higher end, in line with NVIDIA, but I digress on that one. This one is more onto the Intel lineup side of it. I don't think that, especially when we get into the cooler, I'll explain some of the stuff with the cooler, and how they are leaving a lot of performance on the table. So without any further ado, I'm kind of like stalling out a little bit, making sure not all the peeps got up in here, but now that everybody's here. Pepe. Hold on, guys. My cat's clawing at my window. Now you're being a bad kid. Pepe. Oh, all right. So without any further ado, guys, let's dig into this bad boy. Oop, wrong button. There we go. So the first thing I always do is I kind of overview this thing of what screws are going to what pieces. So most of the time, whenever you see screw heads facing this way, that is either to release the shroud or the cooler, or both. So some of these are for just the cooler. It looks like I have these two on the back corner here that are definitely going into the shroud, not the cooler. This one is going from the back plate into the PCB. That's why the screw head doesn't face towards me. I have this screw right here, which does coordinate right into this support pillar right here. So this is attached here. So I've got, let's see here, 1, 2, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 screws holding what looks like to be holding this whole shroud on. I probably could leave this on there. It looks like it's part of the shroud, which I like that. I honestly like that a lot. But I think that these 2 screws down here are also going into the PCB, probably like right on the top of the header here. So we'll go ahead and take all 4 of these off, pop the rear I/O off. We'll get all this apart right now. All right, so these look like a 0.5. Grab the wrong one. Probably this one. Yeah. So on this, guys, I will be pulling these out and putting them into their location. It's like, as long as you keep an eye on how you're pulling everything apart, it will make life easy when you're putting them together. So both of these screws are the same. My first look under the hood. So all 4 of these screws on this are all the same. That makes it nice. So all of those were actually right into the shroud itself, guys. Nothing went into this. So we got a grounding spring here for this. So this helps ground the card to the case then. I like that. That's kind of why it felt like it sprung up whenever I took the last screw off. It went quick. Awesome. I'll put this off to the side. We'll go ahead and get the rest of the cooler screws out. So I've got this one here because it goes right up into the corner here. And then I've got this one here and then the two in the back for sure. And then everything else looks like it's all going through back plate to either the cooler or going from the front to the back plate. And these ones are the bigger screws. If you guys got any kind of comments or questions as I'm doing this, definitely let me know. All right, so first thing I'm noticing as I'm taking off the back plate here, the two screws on this side are different from these two screws on this side. The back screws are actually smaller by, they look like it looks like it's a pinch smaller on diameter and about 4 threads shorter. So definitely long screw versus short screw. That's how my brain's going to remember it. Long screw, short screw. And then let's see if this thing will rock apart at all. Like I said, I have no clue how this thing truly comes apart here, guys. Like, I'm hoping that it comes apart just as is. Oh, nope. Okay, so one thing I did not see, let me see if I can get this to in, and then I will see if I can get this into focus enough. Perfect. So right here is a screw from the shroud to the cooler. So that means the whole cooler needs to come off with this, guys. So we'll have to take the whole cooler off, unfortunately. Let me make sure everything is nice and zoomed in. Focused. Perfect. All right, so that means I will have to take off these other few screws here. And also I'll have to take off any screw that I see with the screw head up. I have to take off. Now, in the United States, this little one here has that do not touch me sticker on there. You can go ahead in the United States and disregard that. That means absolutely nothing to any of us. So I'm going to put this back into the orientation that I had it in as I was pulling everything apart, so that I can keep an eye on screw orientation as I do this, guys. The organization on this one is always the key. So I'm going to go ahead and take these smaller two screws off the back side here. Because it looks like, okay, all 4 of these screws are all the same in this region here. Yes. So all 4 of these are all the same. Amazing. And then we have these, which should be easy enough to tell because they're sprung in. There. Yeah, because I took them away, Cisco. I'm like, stop trying to... He's getting nuts on the scratching the window, and I'm like, stop it. You can stop right now, kitty. So this thing, the back plate should stay on this because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more screws that are coming from the other direction, guys. So now this thing we should be getting our first look. Let me back out of this a little bit. Get this into more of the view. So let me go ahead and I try to just like wiggle on this stuff. There we go. Just like that. It just popped open. I've got plug headers right here, so we're probably looking at the fan headers. I'm gonna flip this over here, make sure that everything is pulling apart nicely on the other side. So yeah, we got fan headers and LEDs here. I'm gonna go ahead and you. Yeah. Plastic, just that first time flex coming back out. Don't want to pull any of the pins out. Last thing I want to do is have to repin this thing. Here, can I grab you with this? That's not strong enough to do what I think I want to do with you. I don't have a tool that particularly take these apart really nicely. Trying to sit here and just wiggle this stuff off very nicely and gently. Trying not to break anything, but this plastic's like very form-fitting. Oh, got one to move. You. Aha, I got one. Usually if I can get one, I can get the other one. You. Like this one's like is a pain. Wow, this is the worst thing I've ever seen to try to take out. There we go. Gotcha. That first, I'm trying to do it without breaking any of the locks on this. So, we can go over the cooler real quick. Let me get my tool out of the way. All right, so now we can get zoomed in on this. All right, so we see that right here we have a single copper pipe here that they have they've pressed fit into the groove. We've seen this a lot before. It's not an issue, right? I personally would have liked to have seen 2 heat pipes here. We have they're only covering half the die with the heat pipe, and we know that the heat pipes wick away the majority of the heat. So I would have preferred to have seen a pipe that, even if it ended like right here in this area, to run out this way and come this way. You know, even maybe a third one. I think they would have done better if they would have used 3, in my opinion, to get better GPU performance. Now, granted, I understand this is a low wattage card. That still doesn't mean that they did not cheap out on this. I mean, considering you see this is they basically took an old standard. This is an aluminum heatsink, guys, pure aluminum, with a copper heat pipe in here for added heat dissipation, because this alone was not good enough for the heat dissipation. We all know that copper has a better heat profile than even aluminum. Aluminum will resist the heat to a point. So with thermal conductivity, I would have rather have seen, like, again, copper heat pipes. I think they could have spared putting 3 into here instead of this cheaped out 1, especially on the cooler design itself, guys. I kind of want to pull this cooler out and take a look at it further. Let's grab my other screwdriver. Just is a little smaller of a bit. There we go. So this is how you have to get down to, and these are also way different screws. Make sure if you're going down into here that you pay attention to your screws. So the aluminum ones have a wider head on them, and they are pretty long, actually. And they're going into plastic, it looks like. So I don't know if they've got metal inserts into the plastic molding. We'll find out in a minute here. In a second, as I pull this off. I'm curious on how they actually designed the fans into the shroud. So. Okay. Different approach on it. So this is the inside of the fan works, guys. Let's see if it will focus in just a little better. All right, perfect. So we have a common plug rail for the 2 fans. And then this one is for the LED. The LED goes down around in between the cards and up to here, where it's got this little triangle logo on there for the ARC logo. These fans are screwed in from the outside. I'm used to seeing how NVIDIA does it with the 3 screws from the center. AMD likes to take 2 screws to hold the fan in, one above and one below on some of their cards, or they have a slip in with a slotted connector with a single screw to hold it in place. That one I love that design setup the best for ease of maintenance. So these ones are actually pretty big with how they're supporting everything. Would sit there and probably say that these are your standard sleeve bearings. I don't feel anything. I feel the magnet more than anything else, and that usually tells me it's a sleeve bearing. So not ball bearing or anything like that. So orientation. So if you have the fans like this, eventually, with the weight of gravity on there, they will fatigue out. So the best orientation for these are going to be like this or like this. Shroud's pretty decent thick. Careful when you're screwing things in and out. Not everything has the Zerk fit, the metal Zerk fittings into it. So everything else interior-wise looks like it's just screwing directly into the plastic. So do not Hercules tighten these things down, as you will run the gambit of stripping stuff out, guys. So yeah. And it seems like everything you can't, it's hard to mess it up putting the cooler in. It looks like it only goes in one way. There's a little notch down here for this little standoff to come in. So I'll go ahead and throw this back together since we now know how this comes apart. It's got a bunch of screws in there, but it's a lot better than like, let's say NVIDIA's old 1070 or 1080 Founders Editions to try to get down into the depths of the GPU. And again, just finger tight, guys. Try not to strip this plastic out. It takes a hot minute for it to thread down, so don't be impatient with this. All right, last screw here, and I can start cleaning some of this stuff up too. I'd like to know where they get this. Like, all the manufacturers use this garbage, like, hardened paste. This is actually a little nicer. It's not rock hard like NVIDIA. Let's see here. Definitely comes off just like I would any of the other NVIDIAs. Alcohol swab right here. I got my Thermal Grizzly. Hey, I do have an alcohol wipe. Yo. Oh. Alright, now I can clean this up. Give it a nice little wipey wipe. Microfiber. And it gives, looks like they do the same thing a lot of the other manufacturers do. They got like a little knot, like a little engraving on the aluminum where the thermal pads go for the GPU itself too. So nice. Now I can put this off to the side here. And we get down to the meat and potatoes, guys. Woo! Look at this. This is a much different layout. We got a really short PCB on here, guys. Wow. So you can see through here with all these little veins here. These are the data path lanes. So we can tell that we are definitely using a like a Gen 5 PCIe but it's a Gen 5 by, what is it? By 4? This isn't even populating all the data lanes on here. So there's no way that this thing is getting any high performance on here. We are definitely on a low performance card. I would almost put this into like the 3050 or the what is it, the 6500 to the 3050 lineup range on performance side. Yeah, these are still GDDR6. This is a 1mm pad. Let's see if I can pull this up without damaging it. I really don't want to have to replace it. The pads are actually in good shape. So, but no, they're in a unique position But these are standard GDDR6 memory, non-X modules. These are just regular GDDR6, just like AMD has. So, but I would say that these are a similar. It's like they don't manufacture the memory modules. So, memory module is memory module. Everybody gets the same stuff. I'm just trying to see if I can get this up without. Yeah. It's nothing special. The pads are actually really nice and tacky. You're gonna have to wait. So yeah, I don't think that there's anything special about the memory modules. That all looks pretty standard to me. It's interesting in how they're doing their power layout on this. So we got capacitors here. So I think these capacitors here are on the ground side. So it looks like these go to the ground pin. So we have a filtered ground. Let's see here. We have our shunts here, our shunt resistors here. 4 of them in series. It looks like these are all 0. So they're like no resistance, 0 resistance on this. But we got 4 of them. So this is almost acting like a power filter versus a resistor. Trying to see if I could track this over. And that looks like it comes over to here. Where it looks like it goes into IC controller, probably power IC controllers right here. So we got power IC controllers going in to inductors, going to some more capacitors, and then from here it comes kicking over. So I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to try to sit there and figure this out. All right, so we got our main power in. It looks like we have a 2-phase power rail going into the core. This power rail here is, I'm going to say that this is probably a, weird how they got this laid out. Because this is going to be your big process power right here. So this is like core. Okay, I get it. So we have core, uncore. So we have the main processing core. We have the memory processing core. And then over here, we have the power rail for the memory. So this is your memory controller power. This is your uncore, and then this is your VGA core. So this is what's actually outputting the video. This is processing. This is like probably like post-processing off the memory, and then memory controller here. Here is your 3.3 rail coming off of their PCIe. So we have more filtration because we want to make sure that our uncore for our memory rail for memory processing is as consistent power as humanly possible. And it almost looks like this power here, the uncore, is coming from the PCIe rail. So here is the 35 watts that it's pulling. So I bet you the 35 watts is going for uncore, and some of it going over into the memory core. The rest of that is going into the actual VGA core, because it was like about 35, 40 watts coming from here. So the bulk of that will go to the VGA core, and then maybe some of it to the memory modules. And then this is your uncore for sure. 100%. We have all of our filtration for video filtration, and we have a bunch of and/or gates down here, capacitor field, little resistors on each section here that I can recognize. So this is a little resistor, this is a resistor, that's a resistor, that's a resistor, or I'm sorry, like a resistor style fuse. So you would expect that if there is a power surge, that it will take these bad boys out first. That's your hope, that it hits this and does not go to the core. Because this would be backfeeding. So some of these gates will stop backfeeding of data going back towards the core, stop that from overheating. Yeah. Okay, so we have our uncore power controller IC chip. We have I'm gonna probably say that this is some of the this. Okay, no, I'm sorry. No. Yeah, this is gonna be your controller chip here. So we got two controller chips. So I wonder what the redundancy is on this. So maybe some of the power that's coming in might come from here, and maybe all the memory power is coming from the PCIe. Hard to say, because I don't see any pathways coming over here. It looks like this is a 10-layer PCB. So hard to sit there and say what is what on here. I don't want to go probing around and knocking stuff off or something stupid like that. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's look at the backside. Hey, let's look at this chip. This here looks exactly like a what you would see in a laptop. This looks like a laptop module. I don't care what anybody says about this, and I do not know if I can get this to show this, because I got a lot of reflection. So if you look right here in this corner, when I put a little shadow on it, you see how it's like the paste looks shiny? I don't have good dye coverage over here in this corner. So this cooler mount actually did not mount properly on here. I've got looks like heavy pressure over here, or a bad smear. Because it looked like I've got no drip coming off of the edge over here. There was a little on the cooler from here, but it was really minimal compared to the other three sides that I see here. So we either got a bad application, or we got bad cooler mount, which a bad cooler mount could mean that this extruded aluminum that they machined out is not flat enough between all the standoffs to the core. This might have the same issue that the AMD Radeon 7s were having, where they were like really just didn't look like they were machined properly. Like it needed a little bit taken off of one edge. That's kind of how this looks, guys. So I'm curious to see how it cleans up really easy. So yeah, that definitely looks like a It looks like laptop. That's laptop. 100%. It's what I would expect to see in any laptop ever made. And you guys should be able to see this, but it looks like there's a discoloration on the PCB. So this looks like a heat discoloration. I've got a little bit of a heat signature over here. That's like, it looks like on the sealer around the chip legs itself. So I got a little discoloration here, and I have some discoloration on the PCB. I don't know if that was from them heating it up to get the solder balls to melt to get it onto the PCB. I do not even know how many solder ball connections are underneath this. There is quite a few. I see hundreds by sitting there and flipping it on the side. My camera will not pick that up. I am so sorry, guys. But it definitely has a little discoloration here, a little discoloration here. Now, I don't know if it's from how they mounted it, or if this is started warming up with me mining on it. And if it was doing it because I was mining on it, well, that's even worse. That means this cooler here is way inadequate to wick out even 50 watts worth of heat. Look at that bare naked circuitry. Yeah. I was kind of hoping that I would see it like how you see it in the renderings where you're able to see all the traces. I wish they would just like sit there and just make that pattern in there. Make it look like it's bare naked circuitry inside the die chip. But this die, I mean, that's my pinky, guys. That is a pinky. I'm giving it my pinky. And you can see my nail is almost as big. The tip of my finger is bigger than the whole chipset. Okay, so this is a teeny tiny performance package, guys. I want to say AMD and NVIDIA are just a little bigger than this on their package. This is you. And AMD and NVIDIA are who your friends tell you not to worry about. Joking, guys. Don't take me seriously, guys. Let's go ahead and flip it over onto the back side. I'm curious to see what this back looks like. They really do like to use the smaller screws on here. So definitely if you don't have a small screwdriver set, you're not going to get too far into this. I don't think what I'm about to do here is anything that a normal person would ever go after. Just because there's really nothing on the back plate here. Let's see here. This one. But I'm curious. Curiosity here, guys. I'm exploring. And you're going along with the ride with me, guys. I hope you're enjoying this. Definitely smash that Lizzie like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all of that good stuff. So all of these inner screws here are all the same, and they have blue Loctite on them. I don't know if my... show that. No, my camera's not going to cooperate with me. But yeah, all the screws that were on the PCB holding it to the back plate are all the same. And then this little itty bitty board comes off. Nothing spectacular back here. This is definitely metal on the back plate. I would say that this is probably aluminum. It's not too terribly heavy. Nice and rigid. Thick. It's so thick. But yeah, there's nothing spectacular on the back side of this. This is them trying to tell you secretly this is not e-waste. It probably is e-waste, but they're trying to tell you it's not e-waste. So that's why they put the don't throw it away symbol on the back side here. They're like, please, it's not garbage. This is the best we could do. Really not much back here. We got all the capacitor fields just to kind of make sure power is nice and clean going into the core section, which is what I would expect. Got a bunch of and or gates on here. I have a shunt back here. I'd be curious to see what this is. This is probably like a 5.5 rail if I had to take a guess of where it's in line with. So I would say that this is probably the 5.5 rail. This is probably a 3.3 rail. Yeah, this is actually pretty lackluster. I was hoping it'd be a little bit more in depth, but man, they really took an odd approach to how they did all of this. It doesn't look like too much in hardware I can manipulate to make this thing overpower. Interesting. I mean, we got a main IC controller here. So all these gates have to hit. It'll see this. This will give the green light, and then the core will start. I'm guaranteeing you this is the brains of the operation here. Because this is going to look for the fan. This is going to look, fan spin. This is going to look for, 3.3 volt rail. I bet you this is the brains of the operation, because these are just your power controller rails up here. Same thing with all of this. This is just power controlling. This is communicating. This is a communication bus here. Yeah. Interesting setup, though. I'm curious. I'm interested in how they took this approach, but definitely kind of disappointed that it's a mobile GPU basically. That they've overpowered. Big deal, right? I'm not. I don't know. Impressed by this. Not impressed at all. So let's go ahead and start tossing this bad boy back together. If you guys got any questions, now's the time to definitely ask. Yo, what up, mine and Hoddle? Just taking apart an A380 here. My first under the hood look on this thing. Hey, I almost read that. Why does that look like a laptop GPU? That's what I've been saying, dude. That is a laptop GPU, bro. 100% a laptop GPU. I'm just saying. I agree with you, Jason. Everything says that belongs at a laptop, not in a desktop. All right. Okay, so now is where I put this back together. And this thing is going to get better paste on it than it ever came with. Give it a little X there. Little micro X on it. It's so tiny. Alright, so make sure that ground pin went all the way back in. And I'm going to try to plug this stuff back in. It's usually easier to plug this stuff back in than it is to unplug it that first time. Unplugging this stuff that first time usually sucks. Alright. Alright. Then I can use the back of the thing to... There we go. And there we go. Now from here, this is where I'm going to do the cooler screws first, so that I'm not worming around with it. Get it done and over with. Kind of get them all started. Alright. Oop. Let me back up because you guys can't see anything that I'm doing. There's not enough real estate. Alright, so I got the 4 cooler screws back in. Now I'm going to do these 2 larger screws here. And these ones are mostly just going into plastic. So don't be Hercules and tightening these things down with the force of the gods. Attaches onto the cooler for these 2. Okay. Last 2 back plate screws, and then I can go on to the I/O. God, I don't think they put enough screws on this thing. God. Alright, so this thing has that little spring on there. So I'll have to align that a little bit with my hand and try to make sure the spring stays underneath the shroud. I like to go like you're taking the screw out first to get the threads to sit, and then you work it in. Like probably the easiest way to do it. Kind of give it like a quarter turn backwards so you don't strip the threads out, and then you put in the opposite corners when you're dealing with a spring. There we go. Usually you'll hear the threads kind of click whenever you do it. Tighten them down a little bit more. Paste her up, plug her in. I don't have my test rig actually set up. This was me. I've done all my testing on this. So I've got no more testing to do until there's more updates on this card. This is a horrible mining card. I do not recommend anybody buying these things, as there's really no support on these as of yet. I have heard of rumor that Nice Hash will be having support for this coming soon, considering that it works in Windows. With it working in Windows, it's just a matter of Nice Hash just integrating it into their platform. It's not there yet, but I do have sources that do confirm that Intel support will be in Nice Hash coming soon. So if you do happen to have a Nice Hash account that you're utilizing for mining, and you have an Intel, for right now, Nice Hash does not recognize the GPU. I have tried it on my test bench. Nice Hash just acts like I don't have a GPU plugged in. That's viable. So I mean, and to their excuse, it isn't viable to them because I don't even have it coded in. Neither does Hive OS doesn't have any support for it. Simple Miner OS doesn't have support for it. I'm not sure about any of the other multi-miners that are out there, Rave OS or anything like that. I'm sure none of them have support. There's not too much support in Linux for this card. Unfortunately, there is a little bit. If you're running the latest and greatest variations of Linux, so you got the newest Linux drivers on there. Some of the Intel driver support is there, but not in its entirety. So overclocking in Linux is non-existent as of right now. I mean, things do change, right? So I'm not sitting here saying it's how it's going to be forever and ever, but for right now, as it stands, there is no Linux overclocking or undervolting support at this time. Like, I do not understand the point of Intel making a GPU that it makes no sense. Yeah, when a GPU is no better than their laptops, yes. I think these are just their bin. This like their desktop GPUs are the super performing laptop GPUs, if that makes sense. That's how it looks to me. I know that they have brand new toolage for these GPUs and stuff, but at the same time, it really does just look like a laptop GPU. Granted, AMD and NVIDIA, they make the chiplets, and laptop makers, console games, consoles that utilize GPUs in them are in essence the same thing. There's no difference between how AMD is in the new PlayStation and a newer Xbox, right? That same chip is in the 5700s, right? It's just power limited, software limited, power limited, all that other good stuff. So, yeah, Intel's looks more like a laptop style or a MacBook style, yes. But definitely, I think it has more performance, I would hope, than the laptop counterparts. And Sup MC, what up? And I am definitely at that 1 hour mark, guys. Definitely smash that Lizzie like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Thank you guys for making it this far. If you guys have any questions about this, moving forward, if you guys get one and it stops working on you and you are no longer in warranty with it for whatever reason, this actually looks simple enough to be able to repair very easily. This card just smells of basic bitch. So pretty much anybody who understands circuitry pathways, you can pretty much, I bet you I can root around on this thing with a multimeter and hunt down all the rails that it's looking for. Because, like, in order for a GPU to initialize, you have to initialize the VBIOS. You have to initialize your PEX rail. You've got to initiate your 5.5 rail. You have to initiate your memory rail. And then finally, once all those have posted, it's going to check for fan. It's going to... Some of them will check for video output on there, but not all. But it's going to look for a fan drive on there. Once that all boots up the way it's supposed to, it initiates the VGA core. And the VGA core is initialized. And then you see your monitor kind of light up as a sign that your GPU just initialized with the monitor. So you can tell through your monitor that your GPU initializes, even if you get 0 video output. As long as the screen reacts to the system turning on, a lot of times that means the GPU is still good. It might be that it's using an onboard graphics for whatever reason. Or in my case, I had to do a BIOS update on my Strix motherboard because I had no video output, and it would not register a USB drive as a bootable device for downloading Windows onto. So yeah, my motherboard had a few little issues, and before I even was able to get video to post, I had to sit there and do a BIOS update. Kitty. So, Intel GPU, super simple to take apart. Interesting layout on how they do the fans. Not a fan on how I've got to take apart a lot of the card in order to get the fan shroud off, in order to do a fan replacement. I don't like that. That'll be a good stream. Send you a bad GPU, tear it apart, and repair. That is true. That is true. Just hopefully it's not a 10 series. Like a 1070, a 1050, a 1060, a 1080, and any of the TI variations in the 10 series. 90% of them, when they go bad, I want to say 90% of them are unrepairable due to it usually pops on the memory rail. Memory power usually gives out. It short circuits to one of the memory modules. The memory module dies, and then when the memory module dies, it sends 12 volts to the uncore onto the VGA core, which is the memory controller inside of the VGA core itself, and then from there it hits the uncore voltage controller, which then hits the VGA core memory controller rail, which then in turn sends 12 volts to the VGA core. So basically the VGA core on a 10 series, when the memory rail pops, the VGA core gets a double tap of direct 12 volts. This is something that's supposed to see 9.5 to 10.25 millivolts. Millivolts just gets slapped with 12 volts. Not once, but twice. And that's usually like death. That is just... So a lot of times I end up getting... When people send me... Can't get out of there. I love you and stuff. Stop. As much as I love the 10 series, I got a lot of 1070 Ti's. But every one of them that I've gotten in for repair, it was I can't fix it because all the other power rails show up. I get my PEX rail, I get my 5.5 volt rail, I get my VGA power going to the VGA core, and then I stops right on the fucking memory whenever it's supposed to try to initialize for memory. So I get the VBIOS 5.5 PEX rail, VGA core, no fucking mem spin up. And then whenever I see that, I test. First thing I do is I test the memory power controller, see if that's short of the ground. 99% of the time, that fucker's short of the ground. And then I could look at going to the Uncore power management. I can find the filter on that power management is usually popped, and that shows that it has sent 12 volts to the core, and it's just like, sir, you put up the good fight, sir. No beer. Hot for me. Too funny, Budweiser. Teapot, that is. Wink, wink, right? So, but I've gotten some of the mining specific GPUs all died the same way. People put 4 of those bad boys onto a 1,000-watt power supply, and within a year, one of them will die. Because you're only supposed to put 3 of them onto a 1,000-watt power supply by itself. What I end up seeing is I see people put 4 of them on there with the motherboard and a couple of fans. Yep. That's the number one killer of the 1070s, is dirty power being sent to the card. And what's the weakest link? The memory controller rail. They put an inadequate memory controller rail in there, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. The updated memory controller is a different orientation on the pinout, and what I think would be a better fix is if they put a redundancy of power for it. That would be me, but that is, and it's the same issue with 20 series. The 20 series, from what I understood, I've only gotten one. I got one of them. It was a Hero, 2080 Ti Hero, from all the way out from Australia to try to get it fixed. And I started hunting around down there. I initialized, I power up the card. So I'm checking all the power rails on there, and I'm getting power everywhere. My memory controller's not shorted. The VGA core controller's not shorted. I'm like, wow, this thing should be fucking. I should have power everywhere, right? This thing should initialize, and the core is staying cold. I'm like, uh-oh. So I look after the inductor, and there was no power coming out of the inductor. I was like, uh-oh. So I replaced the inductor on there to because I had power on one side but no power on the other side. So I pulled the inductor off. So what ended up happening was the inductor shorted out internally and wiped out the memory. It's not exactly the same way that the 10 series takes out the power rail, but that's how I saw the 2080 Ti do it. So does anybody else got any other comments or questions before I head up out of here? Definitely smash that lizardy like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff, guys. All that good stuff. And if you would like to be part of the family mind, get your rigs in there early as possible. Definitely, you either want to be part of DCA Adventure Patreon with DCA Your Mining, or you're going to want to be in my Patreon, links down below in the VIP tier section, and you will be given first VIP access to the family mine when we open up here very soon. We're probably looking at a few weeks, and we're off to the fucking races, guys. We're gonna start fucking getting you guys in there. Woo! And any of you guys that join the VIP section of the Patreon, you'll get some added bonuses in there too. You got to join in order to find out what those perks are. Why would you want to sit there and join the Patreon VIP tier to get into the family mind? Well, we got some value to give back to you. So it is for me, I like coupons. Think of the Patreon as a coupon for the family mind. Treat it as such. Take the information as you will. FOMO is real. So we will be getting, the family mind will be off to the races here, hopefully in a few weeks. Our landlord is breaking down her operation. And it means that I get to get it all going. And we're going to have racks getting moved around. I've got to get fuse panels galore for everything. Oh my God, there's going to be so much going on. And I hope all of you guys are a part of that as we start growing into the future, dude. Because, some of this is going to be growing directly because you guys are going to be hosting with us. I know you guys are. Don't even play like you're not interested in sending us some of your rigs to host at the facility for far less kilowatts per hour than probably what you're paying currently. So if you got a small farm, big farm, it don't matter to me. We will find you a home, even if it's not with us directly. Me and Mikkel have very, very trusted people that we work with as, we're not partners with them or anything like that, but just people that we know we can trust. So we will definitely try to accommodate everything. We're just starting off here. This is location 1. We're hoping to fill this location out that quick, guys. I would like to see our location filled out in 2 months, which would mean that I have to go find another location. I'm perfectly okay with having to have more than one location, and that's only going to be possible with you guys helping. As your rigs come in, I have to expand. And a growing problem is a good problem to have in any business. I don't care what your business is. I would rather have it where I have too many people wanting to utilize our services and I don't have enough space. Because space can be solved. Customer retention cannot be solved by any other means other than giving them good service, good value. So I have an old school way of looking at doing this. Mikkel's on board with me on how I would like to run things. Me and him are on the same page. That we want to just give you guys good service, good value. We don't want to be any of those scammy fucking operations. I won't throw salt at the more obvious ones, but all you have to know is that the compass guides you north. I'll just say it like that. If you know the joke, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. And we got a lot of good things going on in the family mine. We're going to have some power sensors coming in. We're going to have we're getting a bunch of power set up there from 3-phase. It'll be very good stuff. So if you guys are interested on being part of the family mind, please join the Patreon. If not, and you can't join the Patreon, that is fine. If you want to still be part of the community, that is amazing. I'd love to have you part of the community. Links down below. Join the Discord. It is free, guys. 100% free. It's just a nice, good hangout spot. Chit chat. You have rig probs, whatever. There's always somebody in the in the Discord, more than willing to help out at any point in time. There's usually always somebody lurking in the Discords. If it's not me, it's one of many other awesome community members like yourself that are there willing to help out. So definitely subscribe, all that good stuff. Since I don't see any other, but I have solar power, free power. You might have free power, Rude, but you can't scale with it. You've only got so much power until you start burning panels out because you're demanding too many amps off of it. So solar is a dual-edged sword. I don't mind it. I like solar panels for personal household usage, but the moment that you use it in an industrial mining application, they don't last at all. You find out the limitations very quickly of all of your solar power because you either can't scale, so you're stuck with running just maybe a rig or two on solar, and then it's like if you're wanting to scale out and you're wanting to be a full-time miner, you are not going to be doing that on solar. I have seen people do solar farms, and I see the amount of land it takes for what little rigs they're actually running. And I'm sure it's not indicative of everything that I've seen. I'm sure there's more efficient solar panels out there. But this guy had, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4 different solar panel arrays on his property. So that's already a pretty big footprint of power that he's already utilizing. And he had, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He had like 15 rigs plus his house, all running on solar. But the amount of solar panels he had somewhere like 100 or so more than 100 solar panels. And he had the big, gigantic solar panels too. So yeah, it can be done. You can do some of the stuff off grid. It's just that you're not. In my opinion, I could be wrong because I don't proclaim to know everything. But in my opinion, I don't think that it's really scalable to a full-time miner position. Like, I've had solar for more than 10 years, and yes, I have a lot of land. Nice, Rude. Nice. If you've got a lot of land and you've got a lot of solar panels already up, it's like not too bad. Quoted 5 acres for 1 megawatt. Wow, Cisco, that is holy cow. $5 acres per megawatt. Exactly, Mine and Hodl. That is, I'm right there on the same page as you. I'm not the electric company, and I do not plan on generating power. I would rather use what they call stranded energy. What stranded energy is I'm going to find an area where maybe a big industry moved out of the country, went out of business, and there is a building with a sizable amount of power just doing nothing, right? So a miner can come slide into that building and start mining away in there and utilizing that energy that was no longer being utilized, so that you're helping provide demand on the electric grid, which helps provide load on the electric grid, and load on the electric grid helps with preventing power spikes when big machinery is turned on and off. So there are benefits on having miners on the grid because we give that stability. 100%, we give that stability, especially when the bigger scale you are. So, yeah, I just don't feel like doing it. I would rather, as Rude is like, so now looking for a nuclear reactor, green power. Yes, my man. If I can build a facility right next door to a nuclear power facility, I'd be actually pretty cool about that. some people will be like, oh my God, you're gonna die because of the radiation. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm cool with that. It's like you're safe up until you have to drink the pond water, right? So if nobody has any other comments or questions, I'm gonna head up out of here. Definitely check out Crypto and Hot Rods Gaming on the YouTube. Let me grab that link, guys. Copy and yep, a new plan is the safest thing you get. So if you guys are into gaming at all, sim racing, all that good stuff, definitely check this stuff out. Let's see here. And then it is Crypto and Hot Rods over on that Twitch, guys, too. Copy and pasta. It's not gonna let me play. Oh, it's got my last video pinned up there. I gotta remember to hit pause on that. So there you go, guys. If you guys are into gaming at all, definitely check it out. Hit me up. We can have some fireside chats. You can pick my brain about mining or whatnot. I have more of an open forum talking. It isn't so much crypto focused. I'll, talk about whatever on there that floats your guys' boat. So with that, peace out, stay savage, smash that Lizzie like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff, and I will see you all on the next one. Peace.